Hi, welcome to this guitar tutorial here for the song This Moment, This Breath, This Melody. This was part of a larger collection of songs my aim was to write each of them in an hour or less and on nylon string guitar, which is not typically, my main guitar. But you don't have to play you don't have to play this piece or any of the pieces on this record with a nylon string guitar. You could play with steel string and it sounds just as good, if a whole different character to it as well. But part of my compositional challenge to myself was to try to compose all of these on nylon string because it just feels so foreign under the fingers. It's a different feel and touch, But for the purpose of this tutorial, we will be doing this on the nylon string, just so you know. This is a Firk made from the Czech Republic, a Firk GCN, I believe it is, 2. So it's got a cedar top and a walnut back and sides, and then there's a pickup in there as well. So first thing to note is that we're in standard tuning. So E, A, D, G, B, E. All right, again, steel string, nylon string, doesn't matter, but we are going to be in standard tuning. So one thing I want to start off with is just helping you see that when you're playing some of these shapes, you want to try to make sure that your elbow is not resting on your leg, or if you're sitting on a couch, it's not resting on the side. You want to try to keep the guitar neck slightly angled up. And that's really going to help you grab some of these with a little bit more ease. So if you're feeling any frustration, sometimes analyze not only where your wrist and thumb position are, but analyze where your elbow is. So let's just start off at the very beginning. We're in the key of E, and the key of E is a fantastic key because you can get a lot of open strings, B and E and here, and then we have the A. So we're using a lot of the open strings in this song. So to get started, you're going to take your first finger, and I usually use the pinky, although you don't have to, but on the D string and on the G on 11 and 13. Okay, this is in measure 1, and you'll notice that we're kind of hitting an open E with the third finger down here, and then thumb and index are going to be playing the G, so we're sort of pinching those at the same time. But at the same time of the pinch is you'll see that little ramp note in measure 1. It goes up, all the way up to the top like that. It doesn't matter where you start the slide as long as you know where it ends, and that's at 11 and 13. And then we're hopping back and forth. We have the index on the G, your third finger on the E, and we're kind of hitting those, and then the thumb is going to sort of pedal back and forth with the D string. So you have, okay, so it sounds like this. And what I like doing is there's a very free ebb and flow. You'll see that in the tab, it says play freely, ebb and flow, rhythm and dynamics, but also just a little bit of vibrato. And the best way to do that is as you press, think about pivoting back and forth. So don't worry about pulling the strings either way. This song really benefits from the vibrato that's more pivoting back and forth on a pressed note as opposed to moving the string down, right? So we're going all the way up here. And then I put my first finger back. Okay, my first finger is going to go to the D string on the 9th fret, and that's when I put the second finger here on the G. And then you can let that ring out, and then we're going to do the same thing again. This is measure 3. And you'll notice we do a different bass note here. Okay, so now when we're all the way down here, okay, what's weird about this is using your third finger on the A string, but it's okay. Just, you don't have to. You can switch it. I just do it this way because that's the way I originally wrote it, but you can find a more efficient way if you like. Okay, and then we're in measure 5. We get to this chord. Put your second finger on the 12th fret, first finger on the 11th fret, and your third finger on 13 on the G. Okay, and you'll see there's kind of like a squiggly strum. Those are all over the place in this song. And that just means kind of like a slow pick strum. Don't strum with one, although you can. The sound is more, right? And to get used to that, it's like opening a doorknob. the idea here is not thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that, but thinking about almost one action, but you're pulling in each individual finger off the string at a slightly different time. And so when you open up a doorknob, you sort of turn your wrist, and that's kind of the idea, almost like, right, turn the wrist this way. And that's one of the best images, I think, to start getting what is happening with that technique. But I'm rolling the thumb on 2 strings and then doing the sort of strum on the rest of them. Okay, now we get in measure 6. We're going to go here. You can do it this way with your 2, 1, and 3, or you can do 3, 1, and 4. It doesn't matter. But it's the 11th fret on the A, the 9th fret on the D, and then on the G, the 11th fret. Okay. And then you go to this chord here in 7. And what's a little bit strange about this one is that you have a little bit of a stretch right here, right? As guitar players, you've probably heard me talk about this before if you heard me doing any sort of instructions or tutorials, is that we always tend to favor the index side of the hand. So when building a chord, each and every finger that has to stretch farther and farther feels more and more impossible. But the problem is, because we favor that one side of the hand, it doesn't actually give us an accurate sort of centering to get the rest of the chord. So my recommendation is to actually start with the 3rd finger and the 4th finger and then reach your 2nd and 1st back. And a chord goes not from, impossible to easy, but impossible to possible. And then again, we have the open E and we have an open B. And then I'm going to go to the B string, the B on the low E string, 1st finger on the 7th fret, 3rd finger on the 9th fret, and then the 8th fret you have. Okay? And you want to try to let these ring as long as you can. So that brings us up to measure 9. And in measure 9, we repeat the same exact thing as in measure 1. Now we're in measure 13. We do the same thing that we did earlier, except it's going to have a slightly different chord that comes up in 15 that's different than what we had in measure 7. So it sounds like this. Now we're going to go here, and again, this is another one of those sort of strange stretch chords. So if it's helpful to, again, start with the pinky first and work your way back, then that can help. But here you basically have your index on the 9th fret of the A, your 3rd finger on the 11th fret of the D, your pinky on the 13th fret of the G, and then your 2nd finger goes on the 10th of the B. So again, you can build it back this way. Okay, and when you do that, this is going to be in 15, we're going to do the A, the D, and the B strings first. So just like that, and then I go to the B here. And that is the end of the first page, so I'm just going to scroll down here to measure 17, starting the next page, and this is where the verse kicks in. What you want to do is realize that you're actually kind of almost building around this chord right here, even though in the tab it looks like those single individual notes, but I'm going. Okay, but you want to hold the first note just a little bit. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and. Okay, that's called an A with an add 9 in here. So the pinky's going to go on the 4th fret of the G. The way you'd play normal A, you're just, the root is actually going to go up to the 9 up here. And then what you want to do is we're going to go to this chord. This is a tricky chord, so don't worry if this feels a little frustrating. It's because it is. You take your pinky on, this is in measure 18. The pinky is going to be on the B string, 4th fret. Then your 3rd finger is going to go on the 4th fret of the D. Your 1st finger is going to go all the way to the G, and then 2nd finger down on A. And I know it feels crazy. Okay. Just like that. And then we're going to go here to 19. If you feel like this, you can make make an adjustment. Don't feel like you have to hold that the whole time, although if you can hold it the whole time, you get a little bit more sustain. Then you're going to do the first finger on the second fret of the D, and then your second finger on the second fret of the B. Slide that up to 4, and then first finger on the D string on, the first finger on the D string, and then the open B. And I'm just doing an E triad down here. So we have a root, a third, and a 5 right here. So 0, 2, and 1 with your second finger and your first finger. Then in measure 21, so you'll notice what's happening is the pinky, instead of me trying to hold this, I can do that. Sometimes I'll do it that way, but I just lift it off there, and then I'm going to bar on the 4th fret and put my second finger on the 5th fret. And we're doing kind of a walk up. The bass note walks up as well as the melody. So that's going to be 4, 4, and 5. So your first finger is going to go on the 4th fret of the A, the 4th fret of the D, and then your second finger on the 5th fret of the B. And then you're going to keep that exact, everything there, and then put your third finger is going to go on the 6th fret of the A, and the 7th fret of the B is going to go all the way up here with your pinky. And then we'd have this chord where your first finger goes back to the B string on the 5th fret, but the pinky now is going to go to the 9th fret of the A. So it sounds like. Okay, and then we go here, right? I have an open E, and then I have the 4th fret, and then 5 and 6, and I'm just going down in sixths. These are the intervals there. Then we have the 6th fret of the G with the B on the 5th fret up there, and then first. You could bar this, but yeah, your first or second there on the G and the E on the 4th fret. And then I'm doing that same, you'll see the slide up there, and I'm kind of barring and then landing so that my first finger is on the low E on the 7th fret. And then my third finger is on the 9 on the G and the 9 on the B. And I just lift that off. So lift off the pinky. And then my second finger goes, everything stays. My second finger goes to the 8th fret of the G, and then the third finger goes to the 9th fret of the D there. Okay. And then in 25, we're repeating similar to what happened there in the start of verse 1 in 17 and 18. So measure 25. Okay, and now this changes slightly in 27. We are going to use a full bar. So just bar the 2nd fret all the way here and put your third finger on the G, and then put your pinky on the E, just like that. Okay, and I'm just, pinky goes off, and that's great because the 2nd fret is where your melody goes. Okay, and then your pinky goes on the B, on the B with the 5th fret. And then I go all the way up here where I have my first finger has a partial bar on the 7th fret, and then I use the second finger for the 8th fret of the G. And as that's ringing out, then I go down here and put third finger on the 4th fret of the A and first finger on the 2nd fret of the G there. We'll go back to our E triad. And then in 29, okay, that same thing we did before in 21. And then we have the same walk up as we did in 22. Okay, and now we arrive at a new chord up here that feels like a little bit of a stretch, but it's worth it. It sounds nice. Put your your second finger on the G on the 9th fret. Put your first finger on the 7th fret of the B, and then put your pinky on the 11th fret of the high E, and you're gonna strike the low A, and it sounds like this, all the way up there. And it's very consistent rhythm there with the bass notes. And then you move this down here, and what's a little bit weird about that is just the distance between your first and your third. So put your third finger on the 8th fret of the G, your first finger on 5 on the B string, and then your pinky on 9 on the high E. Okay, and after you do that, then your second finger, as the low A is ringing, your second finger is going to grab this B note, which is the 7th fret on the high E. Okay, and then from there, you'll notice this is at the end of the last of page 2, measure 33. We go back to that main riff just a little bit. And then we go 35. Okay, and then instead of going to that low bass note that we did before, now this is what connects us to get into the bridge. And the bridge section, now you're going to take your third finger. As we're doing this, you're going to take your third finger on the 12th fret of the B. Okay, and as you hit this harmonic here, you're going to reach all the way up to 16. This is in measure 40 here. And when you get up there to measure 40, it's easy to go a little bit in measure 40. It's easy to go up a little bit higher. So just be aware it's up to 16, not 15 or 17. Okay, and when you do that, then I just take the second finger down here and I grab the 12th fret of the A. Okay. So you have a harmonic to a fretted note, then harmonic again, then a fretted note. So interspersing those can feel a little bit confusing at first. Okay, and now we're going to go to your first finger on the 7th fret, and then the 7th fret harmonic on the B. Okay. And then put your second finger, this is your second finger, let's see, measure 36, 37, and then yes, and then you go to 11. So this will be in measure 38. And you can do this a couple different ways. I like to do this the second, third, and fourth fingers. So that would just be your second finger on the 11 on the A, and then your third finger on the 11 on the G, and then the 12th fret would be your pinky there. Okay, and then you do that same phrase again. So this is at the end of 38. Again, index on the 12th fret, pinky on 16. Okay, and it's easy to, what I just did there, like as some strings are ringing out, it's easy to let the others buzz. So be careful of that. Take your time with it. Okay, and then you'll notice in, so that's, we start in 39 then. 38, sorry, the end of 38, and then 39, and then 40, okay, so let's go through that again. So starting in 36, after we go, and then this is where it is, okay, in 39, then you're going to do the 7th fret here on the B string, and then your 2, 3, and 4, and hold that there for a second. And then at the end of 40, then now we have 2 harmonics on the 12th fret of the high E, and then the B. And then all of a sudden now we're going to do a slightly different key change here, where you're going to do your second finger is going to go on the 8th fret of the low E. And when you do that, your first finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the D, and then you hit the G. Right? And then in 44, we're back to this chord again, this B triad. Okay, so first finger on 7, third finger on 9, eighth on the G, and then, okay, now we're in measure 45, and so this is starting verse 2. And what we want to do here, we're just taking a very, small chunk of what we had done previously. Okay, that A, and then we have the awful E, but this time we're doing something a little bit different with this. So I'm just kind of rolling the thumb on the bottom 3 in sort of a triplet way. Okay, and then 47. And then I just do 1 and 2 here, and then 3 and 4 on the 4th fret of the G and the high E. And then 1st and 4th are going to go all the way up on 4 and 7 on the B and the high E. Right? And then after this is kind of a fun... You're making like a D here, but you're doing this here on E. So, but I'm doing this slightly different. So your second finger will be on the G. Your third finger is going to be on the B string there on the 5th fret, and then your first finger is actually going to go on 2, and you're going to slide this up from 2 to 4. You don't have to. You could just do this with the low E there, make a nice. But I like the sound of, right? So we have, all right, and after you do that, be very careful not to pull the string off the fretboard there when you slide, as I did just there. All right, and then this chord here, all right, I love this chord. Take your second finger on the A string, the 4th fret, your first finger on the D string, 1st fret, your third finger on the 4th fret of the G, and then your 5th finger, your pinky, is going to be on the 5th fret of the B string. And then these move back, so your first and your third are going to stay, but your pinky goes back to the 4th fret now on the B, and then your bass note is going to go down to the low E string. So we have, so that whole thing sounds like, okay, and then in 49, so we've done that before, where the pinky travels from the G all the way up to here. Okay, now in measure 50, we do that same walk up. Okay, so bar, basically the 4th fret for each of those. Okay, and now we get to the ending part that has this sort of walk down. I love the sound of these chords, and it can be a little tricky to get to at first. But your second finger, we already sort of hinted at this earlier, just earlier in the piece here. But take your second finger, put it on G, put your first finger on the 7th fret of the B, and then put your pinky on the high E on the the 11th fret there. We played that one before, and we played this one before, where your third finger is on the G on the 8th fret, your first finger is on the E note, but the B string on the 5th fret, pinky all the way up on 9 on the high E. And then we move this down, but we have to make sure the first finger doesn't go to the 3rd fret, it stays on the 4th. So your third finger is on the 6th on the G, your first finger is on the 4th fret on the B, and then the pinky is on the 7th fret of the high E. And then we move that exact identical chord down 2 frets. And then I just, as that's ringing out, so we have, so everything holds there. I'm just taking this pinky here, then the 4th fret, and then down to the 2nd fret. Okay, and now we're at the outro. The main riff comes back, but we do something very, very, very slightly different. So in 55, the same slide up there again. Okay, that's the same, but now I'm adding one extra note. So look in measure 57 there, we're going. just adding the 12th fret on the B. And I do that, you can do it with the second finger, I do it with the third, I'm not entirely sure why, but either one works. Okay, now we're in measure 59, so we did this chord before, 2, 1, 3 on the 12th, 11th, and 13th of the A, D, and G, and then we have the open B and E there. Okay, and then we have now 61. We go back to this chord where you have your index, your third, and your fourth here. When you do that, before we went to here, but now we're going to do this because we're going to end this slightly different. So after in measure 61, okay, and then 62, you're going to put your first finger on the second fret of the A and put your third finger on the fourth fret of the D, and then put your fourth finger on the fourth fret of the B. Okay, and I'm doing this. Then I lift this off, the pinky goes off, and this is one of the harder parts of the tune, is to put the second finger as this is ringing out, right? To put the second finger on the second fret of the G. And if you can't reach that, that's fine. That's fine, but the melody goes to there, and sometimes make sure you don't hit the buzz there, so it can feel a little tricky at first. And we just end with this E. Right, just the triad there that we did previously. So that is it for the tutorial. I hope that helped. If you have any other questions about more about what fingers to use on the right hand, I am available for one-on-one lessons. So if you have more questions, please feel free to hit me up, trevor@trevorgordonhall.com. There's a link there. But thank you so much for purchasing this tutorial, and I hope this song is meaningful to listen to and very meaningful for you to play. So thanks again for your support, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.